Hi everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to talk about flex slots in Esper Self Bounce and different builds that you can make with this Self Bounce deck. So first off, we're going to look at non-flex slots and then what cards can join those. So let's do it. So these are the non-flex slots in Esper Self Bounce. If you are playing this deck, you're pretty much bought into playing these cards. These 55 cards in the main deck and these 6 cards in the sideboard. Now, when you pick up this deck, you have to make the decision, what are the 5 cards you're going to play that are flex slots that are missing in the main deck? And what are the 9 cards you're going to play that are missing in the sideboard? And then you'll have your own Esper Self Bounce flex slots. So let's look at it. So these are your options for cards to play in those flex slots. These 11 cards in the main deck and these 19 cards in the sideboard. So let's talk about each of these cards and why you would want to play them in the 5 slots in the main deck and the 9 slots in the sideboard. So Spiteful Hexmage is a 1 and a 3/2. When it enters, create a curse roll token attached to target creature you control. Curse basically just makes them a 1/1. And that's actually okay because a lot of cards are 1/1s in this deck anyway. So this actually ends up being a very, very powerful card, and we can just bounce the curse roll and it's like totally fine. And then we have a 3/2 for 1. So you'd want to play this card if you want to be even more aggressive with your deck. Sheltered by Ghosts, we could play a 1 of Sheltered by Ghosts. Sheltered by Ghosts is a 2 mana enchantment. When it enters, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until Sheltered by Ghosts leaves the battlefield. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and have lifelink and ward 2. This is mostly just good against the aggressive decks if you want a better aggressive deck matchup. Go for the Throat. We could play Go for the Throat 3 and 4. It is a 2 mana instant, destroy target non-artifact creature. It's a pretty unconditional removal in case we wanted more removal in our deck. Mostly just spot removal that doesn't really combo with our deck though. Speaking of removal that combos with our deck, we could play Tithing Blade. It is a 2 mana artifact. When it enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice, and we can craft it with creature to flip it into an artifact that says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now, a sacrifice effect is not as powerful as spot removal in most situations. However, we can bounce this to our hand with, the combos in the deck. And be able to play it a whole bunch of times, so it could be a removal on a stick. We could play Kaido number 3. Kaido is a 4 mana planeswalker that says during your turn, as long as Kaido has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof, and notably is no longer a planeswalker. It's +1 is you get an emblem that says ninjas you control get +1/+1. It's 0 Surveil 2, then draw a card for each opponent who's lost life this turn. And it's -2 is tap target creature, put 2 stun counters on it. And we can ninjutsu Kaido for 3, which means if a creature hasn't been blocked, we can return that creature to our hand and play Kaido. This is really good because we can return these cards to our hand. It can add to our self bounce plan, but also it's just like a powerful planeswalker on its own. We could play a 1 of Defiled Crypt Cadaver Lab. Defiled Crypt says whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's not really the room that we're playing it for. We'd be playing it for Cadaver Lab, which says when you unlock this door, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. You'd want to be playing this card if you want a better super long game and you're playing against a deck that answers your creatures by non-exile means. We could play 2 Mockingbird. Mockingbird is blue X, flying 1/1. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird in addition to its other types and has flying. So this is just really solid because we're able to copy the effect of a lot of the creatures that we already have that we're playing because they have great end of the battlefield effects because we're self-bouncing. The issue with Mockingbird is it requires the ball to already be rolling and can't really do much on its own, but we could play 2 Mockingbird. So you're going to select 5 of these 11 cards to add to your main deck. As far as the sideboard goes, we're going to be selecting 9 of these sideboard cards. We could be playing 2 Break the Spell. Is a 1 mana instant, destroy target enchantment. If a permanent you controlled or a token was destroyed this way, draw a card. So what's kind of cool about this card is a 1 mana destroy enchantment instant that's already like pretty solid, but also it combos in a really cute way with Spiteful Hexmage. And very often in the late game, we're going to have a lot of permanents that we're just never going to bounce to our hand and just aren't really doing anything. And we can cash those into draw a card with Break the Spell. We could play 4 Destroy Evil. Destroy Evil, 2 mana instant. Choose 1, destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater, or destroy target enchantment. Very good against enchantment decks, but also we can side it in against like Shieldred and Demon decks and things like that. We could play another Rest in Peace for additional graveyard hate. We could play additional Sheltered by Ghosts in the sideboard for a better aggro matchup. We could play 2 Shrouded Shepherd. Shrouded Shepherd is an adventure card. Its adventure side is a sorcery. Creatures your opponent control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And its creature side says when Shrouded Shepherd enters, target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, really, what reason we'd be playing this card is against decks where the -1/-1 is good, as you can do -1/-1, play it as a creature, deal a little bit of damage, and then if you need the -1/-1 again, return Shrouded Shepherd to your hand and be able to play the adventure side again. So this is things like Jeskai Convoke, mostly, if you're really worried about that deck. I would be playing Lorn of the Third Path, just like a different way to like deal enchantments and also bounce. It is a 3-mana 2/1 with Vigilance. When it enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, and you can tap it to have you and target opponent each draw a card, which is kind of cute, but really we're playing it for the artifact or enchantment destruction, which we can then return to our hand and then play again. The issue is 3 mana is quite a bit. It could be playing more Cut Down. Cut Down a straight target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. It's really good against the aggressive decks. We could be playing Tithing Blade in our sideboard. We've already talked about Tithing Blade, but mostly it's just removal on a stick, though it's sacrifice. Could be playing the Defiled Crypt in our sideboard. Again, we're mostly playing it for Cadaver Lab. If we want a better matchup against decks that go really long. We could be playing No More Lies in our sideboard to deal with these decks that have these big payoffs. And we could be playing Pest Control, which while is good against us, it's also really decent against the aggressive decks, decent in the mirror match, and stuff like that. And if it ends up not being good for us, we can just cycle it, which is really solid. So again, you're going to select 9 of these cards in the sideboard to join the 6 non-flex slots. You're going to be selecting 5 of these 11 cards for your main deck. And then you have your very own, yet stock, Esper Self Bounce deck. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social media. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.